Welcome to Fun and Fundraising, everybody, the podcast where we talk with people behind top nonprofit galas and signature fundraising events to showcase how they positively transform their communities. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, and today I have a trio of really fun guests on. So we have James and Kristin Hallam, who are the co-chairs of the 44th Annual Blue Ribbon Gala, and Eric Lindh, who is the CEO of the beneficiary organization Equest. And for those of you who are not familiar with Equest, they are a wonderful organization that does therapeutic horseback riding, which is also maybe known to some of you who are listening as equine therapy for people of all ages. And Equest is, it's the first therapeutic horsemanship center in Texas and one of the nation's largest PATH International Premier accredited partners. So it really is a world-class organization in the equine therapy space. And if it's something you've never done before or heard anything about, it really is, research this organization and also research that more broadly, because it really is a wonderful, wonderful service offered to people of any age. And that's what's really cool about this organization. So with that, James, Kristin, Eric, welcome. And I'm so excited to have you all on as guests today.
Thanks so much. Great to be here.
Absolutely. So, Eric, I want to address this first question to you. Talk a little bit about the mission of Equest.
Sure. So our mission is to enhance the lives of individuals with diverse needs through the power of the human-horse connection. As you talked about, so we basically partner clients with specially trained horses to provide a whole variety of different programs and therapies. So one of those is hippotherapy, also known as equine assisted physical therapy and occupational therapy, where clients utilize the movement of the horse to improve their balance, their coordination, their strength, their overall motor skills, because the horse's motion actually mimics the human gait and helps stimulate riders' muscles and nervous systems. So that's one aspect of what we do. We also do therapeutic riding and carriage driving, which focuses more on teaching horsemanship and riding skills to our clients. So they'll get all those same physical benefits as hippotherapy, but they're also maybe focusing on self-confidence or communication skills. And a lot of times clients get to the point where they are entering competitions. We actually have a big competition next week at Chisholm Challenge out in Fort Worth, stock show and rodeo area, where they get to show off all the skills that they've been working on. And that is another one of our programs that is just so meaningful to see our clients get to show off. Think about kids, it might be growing up and see their siblings go and do soccer games or dance recitals. Now it's their time for their siblings to come and watch them perform and show all that they can do with the horses that they've been working so hard on. So that's a really great aspect of our programs. We also do equine assisted mental health counseling, which is, therapeutic and approach to, interacting with clients and horses and counselors to address different emotional or psychological or behavioral issues. And again, horses are perfect partners in that realm, as they're very intuitive. They're able to mirror and respond to human emotions very effectively. And we also have Hooves for Heroes, which is our veterans program. All these programs that I've listed are available to our service members or veterans, absolutely free of cost to them. And finally, I lift up our equine assisted learning programs, which includes our literacy program, which is one of our newest and fastest growing programs, which helps to equip first graders to improve their literacy, their reading skills. We work with a number of different schools in the Dallas area from under-resourced communities. And through their interactions with our miniature horses, they're able to improve their reading, which is really exciting. To utilize horses in that creative and innovative way. So all that to say, we tap into this special, unique bond between horses and humans to achieve some pretty remarkable outcomes.
That is amazing. And, I'm glad you ended kind of with the horses and humans, because I mentioned to somebody that I was talking with you all that, this past weekend, this coming week, and they asked me, and I thought it was a really good question. Is there like a training process for the horses, or how do you all find and select the horses that you all use to pair and partner with with the humans that the horses help?
Yeah, there's a pretty significant vetting process that happens. So we have some incredibly talented instructors and equine specialists that know the exact kind of horses that we're needing, and not one horse fits every client. So they know as horses retire, which kind of horses are needed, whether they're draft horses or needed for specific kinds of therapy. So they may be donated. We might purchase them. As you can imagine, there's quite a network with horse folks that know of Equest, and we know of different ranches and folks who have horses that, yes, they're trained specifically for this purpose. But even those that might have been working in other therapeutic environments, some of our staff tell me they might go look at 100 horses and find one or two that fit our unique needs. So it's a constant search for the right kind of horse, because our client safety is really, really important, and we need to make sure we have the right horses that they're paired with and partnered with in those programs and activities. So it's quite a process.
And we'll leave it at the process. I mean, but I'm really glad that you brought that up, because it's these are vetted horses to make sure that everyone is safe and feels really good and gets the optimal outcome. And I always like to ask guests, and I'm going to direct this question first to Kristin, then to James, and then Eric, I'd love for you to kind of chime in as well afterwards. But Kristin, talk about how you initially got involved with Equest.
When you ask me about Equest, I think about my friends that are involved, and that is Melinda Knowles, our past Equest chairs, which are Catherine Weicker and Lisa Laughlin. They love children and veterans and ponies and animals. And when they asked me to come into Equest, I just fell in love with the organization.
That's fantastic. And James, was your involvement through Kristin? Had you heard of this organization before you had gotten involved as a couple?
Actually, yes. So our oldest daughter, or my oldest daughter, excuse me, Georgia, rode saddlebred for, I don't know, 15 years. And we kind of moved around barns, but Equest was always out in the ether. But that said, I've never had any direct involvement. I have a lot of friends that have been involved, and actually one of my best friends. But we didn't really ever, it just was part of the horse environment in Dallas. So, kind of to what my wife was just mentioning, when Kristin started talking about Equest, obviously curiosity was top of mind. So I start Googling it, and oh, wow, look, they've got, equine therapy for children, kiddos that are on the spectrum, and a veteran program for PTSD, et cetera, which a few of these touch the pillars that I specifically and Kristin are interested in through our foundation here at Benny Keith Company. And so I feel like that was kind of a natural fit. I'll just speak for myself, but for our family.
That's fantastic, and I love that you both got involved, and that James, you've known about the organization casually, and Kristin, your friend and your network, and was a. It almost seems like it was kind of meant to be based on kind of your both your mutual interests. And I always think successful couples that chair events, they both have a tie, or they both have a reason for supporting the organization, and it was really cool to see that. And Eric, I know you're newer to the organization, so talk a little bit about how you wound up at Equest, and what made you choose this organization as the next nonprofit that you wanted to lead.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I joined in July of last year, so I've been here just about 6 months, and I'm born and raised here in Dallas. I've been involved in leading different nonprofits here locally for about 20 years. And I had heard of Equest, but I'm a transplant. I didn't grow up or have other roles here, but it was about the time I was ready to make a transition to a new challenge, a new adventure. Someone reached out and approached me about the position and asked if I'd be interested. And I decided to come out to Equest, and as soon as I saw our facilities here and met some of the staff and saw our clients interacting and working with these horses, I was hooked. And so, I told the search committee, if you're looking for somebody who knows how to work with horses and has done a lot of therapeutic horsemanship activities, we can end this interview pretty quickly, but that wasn't what they were needing. We have plenty of amazing staff who are involved in that work, but in my background, I work with nonprofits. I think connecting point for me is working with vulnerable populations in innovative ways. And when you look at what Equest does and the impact that we have on our clients through the work of our horses, there's really no other better match for me in what I feel called and compelled to do. So I've loved every minute that I've been here and really looking forward to the year ahead.
That's fantastic. And I love that, you mentioned, a good organization, they realize that people bring their own strengths. And if every single person loved the horses, it'd be all about the horses and maybe a little bit less about, kind of the community and some of the services that you would support. So I think it's great that the organization has the insight that, people with different professional backgrounds can really create, real magic, within an organization. And with that, I want to turn a little bit about, to support. So I'm going to address this next question first to James, and then Kristin, feel free to chime in. And that is, you both support so many causes, and both as a couple, and then James also through Benekeith. Talk a little bit about, James, what you look for in a nonprofit organization before you say yes to supporting them, whether it be personally with you and Kristin or professionally with your company Benekeith.
So a long time ago, I was talking to Lucy Billingsley. We were involved in Chiapas Project, and I was a young in my career and very much just getting started in volunteering. I was in my late 20s. And Lucy said something that really resonated with me because the question was kind of posed to her the same way. And the question was, why are you involved? And how do you select this organization? And the answer was, I like to get involved in organizations where I feel like a difference is being made and you can see that difference. And what I don't like is when I feel like I'm the one putting my finger in the hole in the dike until the next person comes and I take my finger out. And I thought that was so well articulated because this organization, Equest, makes a direct impact on young people, servicemen and women, and you can see it. You can see the immediate impact. And that part of it's not the financial motivation piece. That's the part that makes everybody feel good because you're making a difference in someone's life. And so I would say, taking a larger step back, and I'll also speak for Kristin, when we think about the organizations that we want to be involved in, or the foundation or the company or family, we want to be involved where an impact is made, a direct impact is made in an individual's life, in the community's life, and in the state of Texas. So I would say that's a long answer, but that's why.
I think that's a great answer. And I like that you brought up community, and community can be really local, but Texas is, anyone who's not from Texas, and I'm not born in Texas, so I can speak to this. There's an ethos to it, and there's just a commonality and a thread. So I like that you brought it, that the community can be larger than just your zip code or just your neighborhood or even just your city. It can really expand, it can expand beyond that. And Kristin, I'd love for you to share, what do you look for before you say yes to support, to supporting an organization?
I look at the friends and the community that's already involved. And, I'm so impressed by the ladies that came before me at Equest. And I think we have big shoes to fill because they've done an amazing job. When I went to visit Equest for the first time, I was hooked. I saw this little girl get out of her wheelchair and she got on the horse. And she turned and looked at me and she said, "This is the only time that I'm free." She goes, "I can't move my wheelchair, but when I get on the horse, I can go anywhere I want." And she goes, "I live for this moment that I can be free to ride the horse." And I just started crying. And it's hard for me to tell this story because from that moment on, I knew that even if it was just for her, that I was doing this and raising money so she could have that moment of freedom, because I can't imagine being confined to a wheelchair every day of my life.
Wow, that's a really impactful story, and it just goes to show that, you know, I have found over the years that when people keep coming back, and this is actually a good segue into the next thing we'll talk about, but people want to see the end result of what they're raising money for. And Kristin, what I love about that answer is you basically you saw the end result and you were like, I saw the end result and I want to help raise more money so that other people can see the end result as well. So I thought that was a beautiful answer.
Exactly. And they have a long waiting list. So I want to help them, be able to service more little girls and little boys that want to get out of their wheelchairs.
That is fantastic. And I want to turn a little bit to the gala itself. So, 44 years that's a really substantially long time for anyone to run a gala. And it's been one of the top galas in North Texas for many years. We've supported it through our organization for many years as well. And I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts. And Eric, I'd like perhaps your take first, and then Kristin and James, I'd love for you to chime in. But what's one thing a person or an organization can do to create that devoted following for a gala or a signature fundraising event?
Yeah, well, and I know your podcast is called Fun and Fundraising, Rob, but I think it will probably get there. But for me, the first critical component is mission, and Kristin already alluded to that, is making sure we are connecting our guests to our mission in compelling ways, and that happens in a variety of ways for us through testimonials and live, testimonials, video testimonials. Um, I think the other thing that I hope for, and as I'm new, that I believe is part of the Equest Gala too, is that it's already in our DNA at Equest to create a place of belonging and inclusion at our in our programs, and I think extending that culture to the gala itself is something that creates a devoted following, to help our donors and our guests feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, that they're really truly are making a difference. And it just brings people from all different walks of life together, from corporate executives mingling with folks who work in our barns and feed the horses. It's just a really unique way of bringing a lot of different folks together to make a difference together. So being a part of that community is what I'd lift up.
Absolutely. What I love about that, and we've talked about this on this program before, is to me, a great event reflects the tapestry of the community. And what I loved about your answer is you were bringing in, it's corporate executives, it's philanthropists, it's people that are getting the services, it's people that work at the organization. And when you throw them all into a space and it's well produced, it really can create some really magical things. And Kristin, we'll start with you, and then James, I'd love for you to chime in. But I'd like for you to answer that question as well. But also, also because you do support a lot of causes, what makes you say, I'm going to support this cause more than one time? Because I know you go to a lot of things, so I know that means you may not support every single thing you go to every year. So what is something that you look for, that has you coming back as someone, as a donor year after year after year?
Well, we want to help more children. So, of course, we're going to come back next year. We love that feeling of helping and seeing the result in the community. But I think it's also, Equest has a great following. We have the best guests that come out, and we love to throw a great party, and we love to attend a great party. And this year, we have Steve Kimball and Malcolm Hodges helping us. So it'll be awesome.
It'll be fantastic. And Steve is one of the very best. And Steve, Steve was also a guest on this program. So after you listen to this one, listen to Steve. You'll see why James and Kristin love working with him. He really is just one of the most fun people you'll ever want to meet. And James, I'd love for you to chime in as well. What is one thing that you've seen over the years? And especially, I know you can also speak from a corporate perspective with Benekeep, but what is one thing an organization can do to create that following so that your sponsorship dollars and all that keep coming, year after year?
Sure. I want to answer a little bit of the previous question, and then I'll pick that one up. after doing this for a minute now and being involved in a lot of charitable galas and kind of what we'll call Blue Ribbon event, which we're producing. So many times there's the contingency of people that have been following the program and involved, whether on the fray or on the front line. But then there's also the contingency of absolutely brand new people that have never even heard of Equest or have heard of it or whatever event. And so when Chris and I think about that side of this event and the type of production that we're talking about, we want to present the information as if you have never heard about Equest, present it in a light that is exciting, compelling, and causes someone to get involved. And I also want to talk about Steve for a minute, Kimball, because I have been working with Steve. I've lost count, 15 or 17 years, a long time. We've done an enormous amount of events, and he is really, really, really incredible at pulling the essence of the nonprofit, the strategy, putting it on paper or on videography or both, and communicating that to the audience that evening. And I think that's what makes the event special for the person that's not ever been there. So now to your other question about what do Benny Keith or companies that could potentially be coming to Equest would look to have involvement in. I would say, kind of back to my previous answer, your involvement will be making a direct impact in people's lives, and you can measure it and you can see it. We would invite you to come out before the event to any of the equine therapies, the training, the commencements, et cetera, and see for your own eyes. So you can see where the dollars are going, you can see where the impact is made, and you can see how the organization functions. Obviously, like any other nonprofit, we want to hold our sponsors and our partners in the utmost light so they will be recognized in the programming. They will be recognized on site. There's different levels for people to get involved that way. And so there's a sense of community when you are a partner with Equest. You're not just giving money and it kind of goes out into the ether and you never see it again. So I feel like it's a two-way partnership between the individuals and the companies in the community that give their resources and their time. And there are other programs besides sponsoring the Blue Ribbon Gala down at the barn, whether you want to sponsor individual horses. They have all kinds of programs that we could talk about in another podcast, or if anybody wanted to reach out to Kristin or myself. But that is a way, those are the ways of value and efficacy that corporations and companies can get involved and feel like their dollars are meaningful.
Fantastic answer and very well said. And, in terms of, the thing is we're talking about various components, and it's making me think of one of the earliest podcast episodes I did with Lisa Cooley, who's also based in Dallas. And she said it takes a village. And one key component of that village of event success is having a strong host committee. So Kristin, talk a little bit about the importance of having a strong host committee and how that helps you execute your vision for the events.
Well, I love our host committee. We've already had almost 70 reoccurring members come back. And I think that they're very important, or they are very important, because they're reaching out to their connections and they're raising money for Equest.
That's fantastic. And it's absolutely, it's a critical thing. And again, it's part of that village and all the tentacles of the community that, the committee members can do. And I want to turn a little bit, Eric, to you. And, this is really going to be your first Blue Ribbon Gala as CEO. So talk a little bit about how, as the new CEO, how important is the Blue Ribbon Gala in helping you engage and connect with donors?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mentioned that when I first came out to Equest, that was my hook. That's what sold me. And I know that not everybody is going to have the opportunity to come out to our facility. So in some ways, this event allows us to bring Equest to individuals and to our donor community. It keeps our donors connected to Equest in a pretty unique way. I mean, you get to meet and hear some of our client testimonials and stories. You actually get to meet some of our therapy horses. When you first walk in, you're greeted by some of our many miniature horses. So, I mean, beyond that, I think it connects, like I was saying earlier, donors to other individuals, donors to donors, whether individuals or corporate groups, build this greater community of supporters for our organization. And at the end of the day, similar to what James was saying, my hope is that this gala doesn't just raise money, it doesn't just raise awareness, but it builds um, a deeper connection or begins a deeper relationship with the donor community and Equest. Maybe they come out to our property after the gala and start volunteering. Maybe that leads to their business coming in doing a work day, and maybe that leads to them becoming a sponsor for next year's gala. Whatever way people want to connect, we want to make sure we're inviting all these other opportunities to be more deeply engaged in furthering our mission. So it definitely is an event that helps engage with our donors, but I think the long-term view I have is this helps really build some investors in our mission, not just donors.
I love that answer for the fact that what you're saying is that the gala in a lot of ways is the starting point and not the end point. And I think that's the difference between, an event that does, if it kind of does the same amount of revenue every year versus ones that are able to grow, is they see that a gala is the starting point in a lot of instances for a relationship. And it's a way to kind of facilitate that. So I really appreciated that answer. And James, I want to direct this next question to you, and then Kristin, feel free to chime in, afterward. What are the keys to a successful relationship between an event chair and the nonprofit so that they're in sync and that everything is executed so that Steve can create the magic as the event planner? Because they're basically, I always like to say a great event producer is the COO of the event, so that the COO can do its job. Talk about, how what is effective in a relationship between a chair and a nonprofit.
That is a excellent question, because Kristin and I always, there's that moment where it's almost like a baton pass of trust. There's that moment where the nonprofit finally sees demonstrated the leadership and just kind of the know-how, if you will, to produce a top billing event. And by no means are Kristin and I drinking our own Kool-Aid. We have an incredibly strong team. We've already talked about one of our team members, Steve Kimball, and of course Cynthia's in there, Smoot as well, and a whole host of other people. But what it's the old saying, the team's only as strong as its weakest link. And collaboration is absolutely essential. And I want to just hand it over to Equest by saying they do such an incredible job of organizing meetings, getting all the thought capital together in one room, whether it's in person or on a Zoom call, facilitating information via email, et cetera, text, et cetera. Malcolm Hodges is an asset beyond all assets. He is literally the glue over in this organization. So it's mutual. So I would say you start the meetings off, people have heard both sides, whether it's the nonprofit or the chairs, and then you come together and there's just that cadence. And once both parties get that feeling, okay, the confidence is there, everybody kind of reverts to their quadrant on what they'll be working on for the gala. And we have seen this so many times. So typically, Chris and I are pretty quiet in the beginning in the first couple of meetings, because we're just listening to what are they trying to produce, and do they want to go super big? Are they trying to manage expenses as we go into this next one, and we're going to cut costs, et cetera, et cetera. And once we kind of get all unified, then that's when the magic happens. So it's really not about us. It's about the team.
That's a great answer. And Kristin, do you have anything that you want to chime in with that?
Well, I think that James and I we offer a unique combination of skill sets and friendships, and it just makes this amazing outcome in the end. And I've been really impressed that our teams can come together and they just produce more than we ever expected. But we always want to underpromise and overdeliver. So we're very excited about this year's Equest. And I'm so glad that Eric mentioned Ranger and Dare, the miniature ponies. I have to say, we put them on our Christmas card. And I called James and I was like, James, I'm bringing ponies to the office. Is that okay? And he goes, are you going to bring them through the front lobby or are you going to bring them through the back? I said, I think we're going to bring them through the back. So I brought the ponies to the office, and it offered equine therapy to the employees that were there, to our children, and it just made it the best Christmas card photo shoot ever. So if you were still receiving our Christmas cards, you'll notice these two miniature ponies, and everyone's going, are these your ponies? And we're like, no, we borrowed them from Equest.
And I want to add one thing. It wouldn't have been unusual for you to bring him through the front door because we've had a supplier bring a caiman, a live caiman, into the front lobby for a promotion for Cayman Jack. So bringing ponies through the front door wouldn't have been a big deal.
Okay, you all are going to have to open a zoo in this lobby.
Goodness. Pretty funny.
You know, that is really great. And, you know, the one underlying current that both of you talked about was basically, you know, you had mentioned cadence, James, but really it's consistency breeds success, and consistency of communication breeds success, and it allows everyone to kind of achieve and accomplish, you know, what they want, to achieve. And, you know, I want to talk a little bit about one of the things that the organization does at the Blue Ribbon event every year. And Eric, I'd like to address this question to you. And I know each year Equest will award at the Blue Ribbon Gala, you know, individuals and or companies. They'll recognize them in honor of their continued support of the organization. And given that the organization's been around, you know, for, you know, almost 45 years now, it's been around for a while. What is the process for the organization and the event committee to select the honorees? How do you all go about doing that?
Yeah, well, it's a process. Yet again, the staff and committee members are carefully vetting candidates as we look to select our honorees at the gala, and just to honor those folks who have made such a profound difference in the life of the organization. It's really important to us, and obviously it's such a wonderful way to uplift individuals or organizations in the contributions they've made to Equest. So at our gala, we have two awards. We have the Susan Schwartz Founders Award that's named after our founder. Susan Schwartz started Equest back in 1981, and she is still very much active and engaged in our work still today. And so that award honors somebody who, just like Susan, is in it for the long game. They're a part of Equest family and community and supporting us with their time, their talent, and treasure. So that's an exciting award. We also have a citation award named after the first American thoroughbred racehorse to win $1 million in the Triple Crown back in 1948. And so that's an award that we're excited to present to a special family this year who has that same kind of winning spirit and has really furthered our mission. So it's not just a great evening in the moment of recognizing those honorees, but I've really enjoyed seeing some of the video testimonial and folks who come share their thoughts of these individuals and their kind of character that they have and the ways that they've contributed in all facets of their life, not just in their support of Equest. So it's something that's really a highlight for our events.
That's fantastic. And it really goes to show the devotion and just really the incredible following that this event and this organization has had around North Texas, you know, for the last, 4+ decades. And Kristin, I'd love for you to share, what are some other things guests could expect to experience at this year's gala?
Well, this year we did a collab with Myron Crosby and Equest. So we have this Equest cowboy boot, and I think that you'll see a lot of our patrons wearing the boot, and definitely our host committee. So I'm super excited.
That's fantastic. That's a fun, that's a fun thing to do. I mean, Aaron Crosby's a great, a great brand, a great Texas brand. So I think that's awesome that, you're bringing business in and you're adding a little bit of flair and fun. And boots, boots go really well with horses if there's one
Exactly.
thing.
And they're fashionable. Right now, I mean, cowboy boots are so hot. Everyone wants to wear cowboy boots, and these boots are comfortable. So you have the cause, they're giving back to Equest, and you get a nice pair of boots.
That's fantastic. James, what are some things that you're looking forward to at this year's gala that guests can expect?
Well, to begin with, I'm super excited for our partnership with Gillies. When we started developing out the concept and kind of the potentials, Steve, Kristin, and I spoke, and we were like, it's got to be Gillies. It has to be Gillies. It's so Texas. And um, way back when Gillies was concepted here in Dallas, our company was involved with Matthew Southwest and helping with sponsorship dollars and stuff like that. So over the years, we've done an enormous amount of events there and have a great relationship with Jay and the rest of the guys down there and gals. And so it just seems right. And of course, we've got a wonderful evening planned so far. It's fluid still. But I'm sure you've seen the invitation and the color schemes. And of course, all that, is right down Steve's swim lane. No surprise there. Right.
Coastal
Well,
cowgirl.
yeah. So the nice thing about Steve, what you get this when you work with someone enough, he requires no strings. You just let him go. He's a wind up guy and he'll take care of business. But we're real excited about the evening. The menu's going to be incredible. The entertainment will be even better.
And I'm glad you mentioned, when you can trust your COO, and that's really what an event producer is,
Right.
it really allows for it to really kind of focus on the guest experience and your guests really having a really good time. And Eric, I'd love for you, your first, this is going to be your first Equest as CEO. So or first Blue Ribbon Gala as the Equest CEO. So talk a little bit about what you're looking forward to, attending in that capacity this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to seeing all the different facets of our mission come together in such, an exciting, fun night, donors, staff, volunteers, honoring our awardees, hearing some incredibly powerful testimonials just to remind us all of why we're doing it. Yes, it's an absolutely fun night, great food, beverages, um, dancing entertainment. We also have a casino at the end if you're not into dancing. So that's going to be a fun addition to this year. But just seeing the whole Equest community come together is really what I'm looking forward to, and continuing to get to know so many of our partners and supporters that have been around for the 40 years that Equest has existed.
That's amazing. And it's definitely going to be a fun night. And I know we're coming up on time here. So I like to end with this one final question, usually with most of the guests that we have. So we'll start with Kristin, and then we'll end with James. And that is, what advice would you give to somebody looking to chair their first nonprofit event?
I would say start small and then keep growing and never stop. Once you start chairing these events, it's, as James knows, it's really hard to say no. It's almost addicting because you love the feeling of helping people. You love being out in the community and networking and making friends, and then bringing all your friends and giving them the joy, sharing the joy of helping people. So you just can't say no in the end. And every year the event gets bigger and bigger.
I love the start small, and that is you don't have to start and jump into the deep end of the pool without a life jacket. Start small.
Exactly.
That is excellent, excellent advice. And James, I'll let you have the last word.
Sure. I think I'll stick with kind of what's been working for me over the last 30, 35 years, which is identify the nonprofits that you feel like you can personally make a difference in and that you believe in, and then getting involved in chairing and co-chairing won't feel like work. It's when you spread yourself too thin or you get yourself involved in something that you might not be passionate about. I just don't think your work product maybe would be the same if it's something that you're highly passionate about. So we really, but we're a team, try to stick with kind of these the ones that we feel like we're very, very passionate about. So
Passion is always key in making, because people can sense passion from a mile away. And if you're not passionate about the cause, especially as a chair, and I've seen this with many event with event chairs over the years, you can see through that. And if there's any sense of not wanting to be there, that
Right.
translates through the entire event. And that's why someone like Steve is so magical, because anything he does, he's 10,000% in and wants to be there. And I can see why you three are a terrific trio in putting together great events, because anything you all ever do, all your guests want to be there, and you all want to be there, and I think that just makes for a really amazing experience.
can I tell one quick Steve story? You can cut it out. This was
Oh no, I'm not cutting it out. Are you
45
kidding?
seconds. 45 seconds. So we were doing a world premiere for a film project, and it was doing its premiere at San Diego Comic-Con. And so we asked Steve to help us. This was a big thing, Variety, all the major publications, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll never forget our first call. Steve said, "Hey, y'all," it was for the producer set. "I found a CrossFit and they will let us take over their business, convert it into a high school themed," because that was kind of the storyline of the movie, event and venue, and we'll have live music, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, "No, wait a second, Kimball. You're going to take a gym, a sweaty CrossFit gym, turn it into a swanky, disco, boom, chicka, boom, all that kind of stuff event, and do that in about 3 hours." And he had Shag and all his vendor. It was insane. And to see that conversion and to have people come in that had no idea, that, didn't live in San Diego, that were just media partners that flew in. So anyway, after that, I was like, I don't even ask questions anymore. I was just like,
And
whatever.
do you remember when you introduced me to Steve? He was our wedding planner.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was in the middle of COVID and Dallas County was shut down. And Steve threw us the most amazing wedding and party. It was a 3-day event and we did wear masks. But if
That
he
was
could
the
do
first
that
kind of big event in Dallas.
Yeah.
COVID.
as soon as it opened
Anyway,
up, it
we
was
can talk about fun
fabulous.
Steve
We can talk
stories.
about Steve all day, but that story is
Right?
so staying in
Right.
because only Steve Kimball could turn a CrossFit into Studio 54. So
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, literally, that's a great analogy because that's what happened.
and he will Studio 54 out with between the casino and the Mirren Crosby boots. The Blue Ribbon Gala
Yeah.
I'm sure it will be an epic night to remember. So with that, James, Kristin, Eric, thank you so much for joining us today. This was an absolute blast.
Thanks,
Thank you
y'all.
for having
Thanks
us.
so much for having us.
Thank you.
Okay,
And
bye.
Appreciate you. Okay.
the
Take
45th
care.
annual Equest Blue Ribbon Gala will be held on April 25th, 2025 at Gilley's in Dallas, Texas. For more information, please visit equest.org. And that will do it for this episode of Fun and Fundraising. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, reminding you to keep it fun, keep it interesting, and your guests will have a great time. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.